Alright, what's up everyone? Trevor here with Tag Performance and Nutrition, and I am filming in the next episode here of Together Achieving Greatness. Going to do it live here on Facebook, but if you are checking it out on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button below before we get going here, and so you get subscribe so you get all the updates on when I release the next episode of the Together Achieving Greatness show. So let's just jump right in today. Today I'm going to be covering a question that I got about the use of chains. A friend of mine requested that he's ordered some chains for his football team there, and was wondering about weights and stuff like that. So I told him, hey, I'd shoot a video on this. I'd go more in depth because you see a lot of people training with chains, athletes training with chains, different things like that, and I want to give them some specifics on the ways you can use chains, how to properly use chains, lifts you can use them for, and why. Why would anyone even want to use chains in their training? So let's start with kind of the why you would use chains and how chains can be beneficial. Chains, and you can use them on any lift. I guess not any lift, but any barbell lift. They're great for. You can also use them drape them around your back for push-ups or around your neck and stuff, shoulders for pull-ups, things like that. But specifically today, I want to get into how to use them on a barbell lift. I'll be using the bench press because that was specifically what his question was about, is using different weights for bench press. And why you would use chains in this is because the chains are a form of accommodating resistance. And basically that means that they're going to provide a different load profile at different ranges of motion. So with chains, another way to use accommodating resistance is through bands, which bands kind of accelerate the lowering of a lift for up. So on the bench press it'd be down. But with the chains, the weight is going to be heavier at the top of the lift, whereas if you watch, once it's at the bottom of the lift, more links of the chain are on the ground, which makes the bar heavier up here, but down here it's a lot lighter. So if you're struggling to get the weight up at this top range of motion, to lock out, chains can be a great way to help with that, to push through that final phase. Just add a little bit more weight at the top end of the lift, whereas at the bottom of the lift it's light. Same thing would be with squats, with deadlift. So that's why a good way to use chains is just a way to change things up, allow a little bit different load throughout the different phases of the lift. So you got the eccentric, which is the lowering. You got the isometric here at the bottom, and then you got the concentric going back up. And it's chains allow, like I said, it's going to be lighter at the bottom of the lift and heavier at the top. Whereas if you're just using straight weight, if you have a plate on each side, it's going to be the same weight the entire time. So if you're getting stuck, it's just a way to change things up. Again, it is more advanced. So if you're a beginner, you probably don't even need to be messing around with this stuff with chains and accommodating resistance, because it is a more advanced technique to use for training. But that's kind of the why behind it. Now we get into how to set chains up. I see this done wrong a lot because people just don't know what to do. They'll have it where the chains are like this, where they're off the ground. That's not what you want. When the bar is, for instance in the bench press, when the bar is here or at the top of our lift, we want a few chain links on the ground. We don't want the chains completely off the ground. We want a few chain links always on the ground. Then at the bottom, as you saw before, pretty much all the chain links will be, so as you see at the top, there's still a few links on the ground. And then at the bottom, basically the majority of them are on the ground. And that's how we get the change in weight throughout the lift. So the way to set it up, there's different ways to do it. I got like a lighter chain that attached to the bigger carabiners here with the heavier chains. And again, I'll talk a little bit more about weights of the chains here in a minute. But again, I have a longer, let me see what, I don't even know what to call it, like a longer, smaller chain. You could use a rope or something else that you have, maybe a strap, something like that, just to hook the chain through. This doesn't necessarily have to be a chain part here that goes around the barbell, but whatever you have, whether, like I said, it's a strap or something like that, even like a, I don't even know what to call them. I have these things that I've used before, if I can find them. But just something that you can hook the chain on, you can clip the chain on. A carabiner is always great, just to, again, to hook, because it is going to be strong, it's going to be durable, it's going to be able to hold the weight. And again, here I have about, I think I've weighed them, I have a few different chains combined here. I believe these are about 30 pounds in chains on each side. I have to weigh them again, I can't remember. But it's somewhere around there. But again, you always want to have a few chain links on the ground at the top. So if you're in a squat, I would adjust, if I'm doing a squat, I would adjust these so there's still a few chain links on the ground, and that's where that plays into it. But at the bottom, basically the majority of the chains are then on the ground when it comes to using chains. So the ways we would use these for our compound lifts are, and it doesn't have to be a straight barbell. Like I said, I barely ever use a straight barbell anymore, but a lot of facilities, that's what they use because that's all they have. So, but again, the ways we'd use these, you can use them in your heavy lifting as well. So like your max effort, I break my training down into basically max effort or heavy days, and then my power or dynamic effort days, which are, think of heavy or max effort work as strength building strength, lower reps, heavier weight, not as much speed, whereas dynamic effort is lighter weight. You're just thinking about moving fast and explosive. That's where you build your power. And you can use chains in both ways. You can use them in just a repetition effort method too, where you're just doing for reps. And you're going to adjust the weight based on the lifter's experience level, their numbers in the weight room, their training age, that type of thing. And just a lot of times it comes down to the eye test. And again, like I said, this is better for advanced athletes who have been training for a few years. But again, it's a way to change the loading profile on the bar when they are lifting. But where was I? So just for heavy, so say my bench max is, mine's about like 250, which is not impressive at all, but I'm not good at the bench. But so say my 1 rep max is 250, and again, I don't do a lot of testing out. I work up to like a heavy, from my max effort days, I would work up to a heavy, say a 5 rep max for that day, or a heavy 3 rep max for that day. That's a lot of times what my heavy days look like, or it's 3x3, 3x5, something like that. But working up to a heavy rep max, and you would keep the chains on the entire time as you up the weight. So I would add a 45 or whatever, do my set of 5, say, and just keep the weights on the entire time, just working on strength as we're getting heavier. So you can use these chains in heavier work. Again, that's going to change the load. So it's, just remember, as the bottom, it's going to be lighter, so you'll be able to get it off your chest easier. But at the top, you might struggle to get to that lockout position because there's going to be more load on that. So think about it as, so you have 45s on the bar. Normally that's 135 pounds, but then you add the chain weight in too. So whether that's, you get 25-pound chains, 15-pound chains, 30 pounds of chains, and make sure you remember both sides too, because for that weight, because that's going to be the top. At the top end of the lift, you're going to have about your weight on the bar. So let's say we have a 45 on there. 135 plus, this would be about 60 in chains. So at the top it would be 135 plus 60. So what's that, 195? If my math is right. So 195 at the top, and then probably about 135, maybe a little bit more at the bottom. So as you get to the top, as you go up, you're slightly adding a little bit more weight up to the top there. But a lot of times I love to use chains as my accommodating resistance. Like I said, you can use them on the heavier work as well, but I like to use them on the lighter loads that I'm my dynamic effort, where I'm working on power and speed, whereas it's just, again, it changes at the top. So dynamic effort work, you usually, a lot of times it could be, your ranges of weight could be anywhere from 30% of your 1 rep max up to 60-70% of your 1 rep max. But if you're using accommodating resistance, I like to work on that lower end, so like 30 to 50%. And again, these are just rough numbers. If you don't know your 1 rep max, that's totally fine. Again, this is an advanced method. Use the eyeball test. If you use any velocity training tools, like I have a push band, which I can attach to the bar and test my speed of each lift, and just do it so you're staying, again, if we're working dynamic effort work, I like to work up towards 1 meter per second, somewhere in that range, and just explode. You're working on explosion, so you're thinking quick and fast. So again, like this, so fast as possible, you're just being explosive. That would be the dynamic effort method. Then with the weights, so you're working on that lower end. If you're using accommodating resistance, I like to do 30 to 50%, somewhere in there, because we are working on speed. We're working on power. It doesn't have to be heavy. Our intent for these are not to be slow and build as much strength. These are power. This is where a lot of people, they're only focusing on strength, but power is important too, because that's the first thing we lose as we get older. We lose our ability to create power. And if you're an athlete, there's not very many sports that don't require power. Yes, strength is great, especially for young athletes, to build the strength, and that's the base that you want to build a good foundation of strength. But as you get older, power becomes more at play, and something you need to start training specifically even more, because strength can only take you so far, and if that strength doesn't transfer to on the field activities, then what good is it? If it's just making you slower, no one cares how much you can lift in the weight room if you can't throw a pass or throw a strike or shoot a hoop, make a 3-pointer, whatever it is. So your weight room stuff if it's not translating and helping and assisting you on the field or on the court, then you're doing something wrong. But whereas younger athletes, starting with the strength, build that foundation of strength, that's going to help their speed right away. That they're going to see a lot of progress in speed and power just by getting stronger. But as their training age gets up there, they get years in the gym and they're training more, that's when you think of using more of these other methods to develop power, speed, things like that. And the dynamic effort method is a great way to do that. Again, then with the weights, with that, like I said, your bar weight would be lower on that, so 35 or 30% to like 50%, and then you add accommodating resistance in the form of chains in this sense, and you just want to adjust to that, make maybe like 25% of your total 1 rep max in chains, something like that. And again, play with it, because with the dynamic effort method, if you're doing that, our intent is to be speed and forceful with our lifts. We're not looking, whereas strength, you can add more and more chains just because we're not worried as much about speed. We're working to get strong. So on the heavier lifts, if you're adding chains, that is a good way to do it. Again, he was asking a lot about the weights and how much change you should order. But yeah, that's going to be a lot dependent on the athletes you have. It's going to be dependent on, like I said, their training level, their age, what they're lifting. But I love chains. They're a great way to add to your lifts, especially if you're trying to train. Not only can they help you lift, it looks cool. That's why. I mean, you'll see some of my videos and stuff like that. It's lifting with chains, and yeah, it looks cool. But it serves a purpose too. It's not just there to get the likes and clicks on social media. They do serve a purpose with the lifts to add a little bit more weight at the top of the lift, and whether you're using it for heavy lifts or for dynamic work to build power and build speed. But yeah, that's basically chains in a sense, and how to use them, when to use them, why to use them, where to get them. I know, like, I got some of these bigger ones. I think I ordered these directly through Elite FTS, which is one of the best places to order any gym equipment. But I think I got the big ones, and they came with these, the leader, longer ones to hook them to. I believe that came with the thick one, and then the carabiner came in too. But then I think I got all these other things. I got more over here. I just got those at Menards. So, but you can get them. You can find some old ones that someone's not using anymore. Hey, work with what you got. Find what you can. But yeah, you can get them at Elite FPS. I know some other places have them too. I think Bells of Steel is a good one. I get a good amount of equipment from there. They're a good one. But yeah, I mean, as far as weights, yeah, sets of 15-pound sets, 20-pound sets, 25-pound sets. Get what you need, and you can always start out lighter, and as you get stronger, as the athletes get stronger, you need more sets. You can add to that. So that's a good thing. You can get chained. Like I said, you don't need to order them directly from a gym facility or a gym sales facility like Elite FTS. A lot of times, places like that overcharge. You can just go to a Home Depot or save big money on Menards and get some there. So, but yeah, any chains will work. Again, accommodated resistance adds more weight at the top. You can use them in your heavier work, where you're just doing, say, 200 pounds with 50 pounds of chains added, or 185 pounds with 30 pounds of chains added on each side, or whatever it may be. It's a lot of times it takes there's no one way to do it. It's a lot of times it takes the coach's eye. It takes playing with things, testing things out, and just seeing, because it can be kind of awkward at first if you've never lifted with chains before, because it's just that you might see you might get kind of wobbly if your shoulders aren't stable. It helps with that too, is stabilizing the shoulders. You got to be good that way. Otherwise, the chains can, as they move, they sway back and forth, and that can get you off balance and off kilter. So it takes some time. That's why it's better for more experienced lifters. But if you guys have any questions, again, on using chains, or comments on using chains, anything like that, feel free you can post a comment below. This will be on Facebook, as well as I'm going to get it up to YouTube as well. You can comment on there. Otherwise, send me an email, Trevor@tagpn, that's Trevor @tagpn.com. I'll reply to all of my emails as long as I don't lose it in junk. But other than that, any questions, guys, feel free. And again, make sure if you're checking this out on YouTube that you subscribe to my channel and like the videos if they are helping, because that will help me spread the word and help more people, because ultimately that is my goal, to help as many people as possible become athletes for life and build the best versions of themselves through training, through nutrition, through sleep, through stress management. Compass all that in. That puzzle, help you find the puzzle pieces to fit to your specific goals and needs. And that's what we do here at TAG. So any questions, guys, feel free to reach out. And that is the latest episode of Together Achieving Greatness. Thanks for watching.